Hi, I'm Lisa Derderian. I'm the Public Information Officer for the City of Pasadena. And my job today is to get you prepared for the next disaster. It's not a matter if, but when. And today I'm here to prepare you, not to scare you, but as long as we're not complacent and we focus on getting disaster kits together for every member of our family, then we're all going to be in this together, neighbor helping neighbor. So today I'm going to go through a disaster kit. I recommend that every member of your household has a backpack because if you need to grab and go, it's easy to carry, as opposed to some homes I go into, they have big bins filled with disaster supplies and you can't carry that if you have to evacuate your house. So backpack every member of your family, and don't forget your furry friends, which we'll talk about in a minute too. So let me start with my first question though. What is going to be more valuable to you after a large disaster? My roll of toilet paper or my Platinum American Express card? Hopefully you answered the roll of toilet paper. Why? Because credit cards run off electricity. And after we have our next big earthquake, more than likely we will not have electricity for anywhere from a couple days to several weeks based on the magnitude of the earthquake. So very important that you have other means, which we will talk about in a minute. But let's also talk about a few things that run off electricity in your house. Tonight, go home, do a home assessment, and think about things that run off electricity that you need to duplicate for when we have our disaster. Some will be in our disaster kit, but let's talk about your garage doors, for example. If you have an electric garage door opener and you cannot get it open after disaster, know where the red cord is. If you pull the red cord, then you can manually open up your garage to get your car out. Traffic signals run off electricity. So if you do leave your house and you try to go somewhere, know that traffic signals more than likely will not be working. So observe the four-way stops as if there were stop signs, and be cautious and do not rush to get to wherever your next destination is. Electric can openers. Make sure that you have the manual ones. And if you get some of the ones that are old school, make sure you practice using them because you can get carpal tunnel syndrome some of these ways that you have to use these old style ones. So get a manual can opener because nowadays, a lot of pet food, a lot of canned goods, you need the can opener to open them. Every time you go to the market, I want you to get something disaster related because if you go and buy pre-made kits, they can get very expensive. So when you go to the market, buy an item disaster related every time. That way you're in the mindset every week too of being prepared. For me, it may be beer and chocolate. For you, hopefully it's batteries, it's canned food, it's extra pet food, flashlights, things that you know you need to replenish on a regular basis. So let's start with our kit now. Trash bags. During the windstorms in 2011, Pasadena experienced significant winds to the tune of $18 million that impacted our city. But I did see a gentleman, 2 o'clock in the morning, that had a trash bag. It was cut out, his arms were sticking out. He had it stuffed with newspaper, and I went up to see if he was okay, and he said it's an old military trick that you cut out the arms, wear the trash bag, stuff it with newspaper, and it keeps you warm. So in a large-scale earthquake where you lose power, your heat will not be working. Your temperature inside your house or outside if you need to evacuate can get very cold. Use a trash bag, fill it with newspaper, wear it. It may not be very fashion friendly, but it will do the trick. Another good means for a trash bag, you're told to evacuate. I live near the foothills. If I'm told I need to leave, I'm in a panic state, I don't know what I want to take with me with just a few minutes notice, take a trash bag, an old pillow case, write on it things that you want to take when you need to evacuate so that you can easily know where they are, stuff them in the bag, and go. Because you can't have a bunch of boxes laying around the house, take up a lot of space. This is easy, just to pack and go. Additionally, when we have a big earthquake, your plumbing may be impacted. So your toilets may not be working. You can't go anywhere because roads may be affected. So take a trash bag, line your toilet with it, do what you got to do inside the trash bag, fill it with some kitty litter or something to diffuse the smell. Take it outside if you need to, bury it in the backyard and hope the dog doesn't dig it up in a few years. But at least you are disposing of it properly as opposed to leaving it inside knowing that your plumbing's impacted. Speaking of plumbing too, we have a large earthquake. If you have a bathtub at home or even your sinks, fill it with water, knowing that more than likely we will have aftershock. So if you are able to Initially fill it with water, both the sinks, the bathtub. Use your hose and fill buckets if you have them. So if your plumbing is then impacted after the aftershocks, you still have that source of water available to you. So you can buy the pre-made kits, as I mentioned. When I did that originally, it came with 6 pre-packed water containers, right? They all got smushed, is my technical word of the day, all got smushed within just a couple weeks of me using the kit for demonstration purposes. Plus, these are like those little sippy cups for kids. 3 sips and you're done. So, invest in something a little more robust. They make a 50-year shelf life water. It's called the Blue Can. It's all natural. You can take these, you can store them, use them after the disaster. It tastes good. It automatically, when you shake it, will get cold and does have a little chill factor to it. It's about $1 a can, and people tell me it's very expensive, but these are the same people I'm in line with at high-end coffee stores that order, a $6, $7 high-end drink. So put it in perspective, okay? This you can buy, put it away, not have to worry about it. Because it lasts 50 years, I'm going to leave it in a trust fund for my kids, knowing that, this will be valuable one day. Doggy biscuits. I don't have a dog. If somebody takes my husband, I can have a dog. But why I have these in my disaster kit is because the little old lady of Pasadena is my neighbor. So we have a large earthquake. She's got a little poodle. I go next door to check on her. The poodle's agitated, does not like me to begin with. So if I can take a doggy biscuit, throw it in a corner, secure the dog in a bedroom, and check on her, makes our lives much better. So even though you may not have the pet at home, always good to have that. Plus, you may have the neighbor's dog that she or he cannot get home to take care of their pets. At least you have something to keep them fed until they can get home and take care of their animals. Okay, next to your bed, I want you to have a pair of shoes and your gloves, okay? Don't put the pair of shoes next to the bed to where you're gonna get out in the middle of the night tonight, trip and fall, and I'm gonna be at fault. Maybe tuck the toes between the box spring and the mattress there, or tuck them under the bed, so when we have the earthquake, when the shaking stops, put your shoes on. Don't worry about the socks. Everyone's worried about the socks for hygiene. Put the shoes on because things will fall, they'll break. More than likely glass from mirrors will be broken and end up on the floor. We don't want you to cut your feet. Put the shoes on, take the gloves, put them on right away, so if you have to move any objects, your feet and your hands are protected. Because day to day now, you get injured, cuts, you try to go to a doctor, to a hospital, it's extensive wait during an earthquake or the aftermath of a disaster, it's going to be a lot worse. Again, this pre-made first aid kit came in the disaster kit I originally bought. This is like one Band-Aid, little thing ointment, it wouldn't even help an ingrown toenail. So invest a little bit more in first aid items, knowing that if you can't get help, hopefully you're going to get trained in Red Cross first aid or through your fire department, and you have something a little more robust than just a tiny first aid kit that's all in the marketing that really doesn't have too much in it to help you after a disaster. Cuddly items. This was my kid's, he's now 30, when he was probably about 6 years old. Kids revert back to their childhood after a disaster. It sounds like an oxymoron, but a child that hasn't sucked their thumb for years will start sucking their thumb. That blanket that you gave to charity because they haven't used it for years, all of a sudden they want that blanket back. Cuddly items, have something for them that will keep them comforted. Nowadays kids are using their electronic devices, such as iPads, and if you don't have power and no way to charge it, you're gonna have to go old school. Board games, that's B-O-A-R-D, not B-O-R-E-D. So have board games handy, coloring books, crayons, things that can entertain them, keep their mind off the incident at hand, so they don't get in a panic mode. If you have young kids, their backpacks in school, write them a little note, mommy and daddy will be here soon, a family picture, something to kind of reassure them that you're not far, they'll be okay, and they're in good hands. Make sure that you have extra cash at home and in your wallet, your purse, so if you're not at home, because nowadays everything is paid for typically off your Apple Pay or off your other devices where you can transfer money. ATMs will not work after a disaster because they run off of what? Electricity. So have that extra cash, small denomination, so that if you have to run to the market and their cash registers are not working, at least you can pay for cash. If you have to come back and get, change, so be it. Where do we recommend you keep your cash at home? In your freezer. Why? Because if you have a fire inside your house, one of the last things to burn will be your refrigerator or your freezer. So I have people that get very creative. They'll take their cash and they'll stuff it in a baggie and they'll put it inside like a frozen chicken so that if any bad people come into their house, they're not gonna be able to find their cash. I don't talk to any bad people, so I'm not worried about that, but you can be as creative as you want. Just ensure that you do have that extra cash at home for if you need that, and in your wallet, in your purse for if you're out in the field. Flashlights. Flashlights are cheap. Go buy them and store them everywhere, because if we lose power, we want to ensure that you still have some electricity to get around your house. Do not use candles. Often I'll ask people, what do you have in your house if you lose power and you don't have lights? And their number one answer is, I'll just light a candle. Please do not light a candle, because if you take a match, you light that, you have a gas leak, your neighbors won't be happy with the big boom. So ensure that you just use your flashlights. Again, put them everywhere, in your car, stick them in your purse, throughout your house, in your kids' backpacks at school, so at least you'll have some way to have lighting. Little wrench here. So I keep one of these next to my bed. That's probably why my husband sleeps on the couch. But this is good because I'm in an old ranch-style home in Pasadena. So we have a lot of shaking due to an earthquake. A door can jam. So this is a way to help open up a door. If I need to go out a window, again, those can jam too with the shaking and the jarring. So if I need to use this to escape, this is something that will come in handy. Doesn't take up a lot of space. You can tuck it again under your bed or under a mattress for when you need it. Car phone charger. So everybody now, you rely on your cell phone so much. I got mine on my hip almost 24/7, but when I lose power, I'm not gonna be able to charge it. So you can buy those solar powered. They look like lipstick containers, but you need to remember to charge those too. So make sure that you have a way to charge your phone that you can use in your car. You can get the solar power ones. You can go buy the ones that are disposable, but make sure you have means to charge your phone if you can't just plug it into the wall at night like you typically do because you don't have power. Map. You need to go old school, because if you can't use your phone, if you don't have power, or even if you can use your phone and you need to map out where you're going to evacuate to or your next destination, that uses a lot of power on your phone. So go old school. Get a Thomas guide, or Pasadena gives out hard copy maps, so that if you need to know a route to get somewhere, you can reference this without using your cell phone for the battery to die on that. We're so used to going one way to get to the market or the kids' school or to work, and the same way coming back. Very rarely do we deviate or detour to get to and from. Just like if we go to a movie theater, you go the same way you go in is the same way you typically go out. So I need you to think, be creative in your day-to-day journeys. When you're coming back and forth, take alternate routes. So when we do have a disaster, roads are affected, trees are down, you have other ways that instead of having to look it up to get home. Okay, this is a gas valve, and to turn your water on and off. This is about $13. You can get them at most home goods stores. This is very handy. We do not recommend turning your water off because that valve is not exercised on a regular basis. So if you go to practice with it and you try to turn it off and it gets jammed or it breaks, you're then going to have a water leak inside your house and you won't be real happy. So know though that should we have this earthquake and you do have a pipe burst inside your house, go out to the street, turn off your water. And then it also has a gas turn off, but we do not recommend turning off your gas unless you smell it. That's why it has a rotten egg odor, so that you know if you do have a leak. But do not turn it off automatically, because it could take weeks. After Northridge earthquake, it took several weeks to get it turned back on, and we do not want you turning that back on your own. So keep it next to your gas shutoff, but not to where it's visible to the public eye. Put it in a baggie, maybe bury it in some dirt next to so you know where it is, but not where it can be used for negative intent if it's visible. Okay, so this is a maxi pad, right? So when I came up on a traffic accident years ago when I worked for the fire department, a guy had a maxi pad on his head. Of course, you have to use adhesive on the other side to secure it. I went up and the wife said that it's something that she had learned prior to, that when you have heavy bleeding, this does what it's supposed to do. This will do what 10 Band-Aids cannot do. It'll help stop the bleeding. I have them in my glove compartment. I have them in my office drawer. I have them, at home, because it does what it's supposed to do, help stop the bleeding. Again, just make sure you have a way to secure it on the other end, but this is something to keep handy. On the other hand too, tampons, right? So we get 911 calls, people have nosebleeds, something will fall on their head. I hate to say gunshot wounds, but worst case scenario, this is good. You tear off a piece, use it. It helps stop the bleeding until the paramedics can get there and help. Camera, we're going old school. Nowadays, everything is off your phone, but don't give away those cameras so easily, because after a disaster, we need you to document. So hopefully your house is okay and intact, your infrastructure is fine, family is okay. Start taking pictures though of any damage you have that you need to report, because if you can't show what it looks like and then we have these aftershocks cause further damage, then you're not going to get reimbursed by your insurance. Always recommend too, on the front end, before the disaster, take video, take pictures of things in your house, valuables, so you can show what it looked like before versus the damage afterwards, so that you can justify that to your insurance company. Medication, I should probably be on a lot more than I probably am, but medication. Prescription medication, day and age we live in with insurance now, it's very hard to say I need an extra week's worth in case we have our disaster. So don't wait till the end of your prescription to refill. Do it soon so that you have plenty in case you can't get to a pharmacy. If you go on vacation, ensure that you have some extra doses too, in case you can't get home from where you are for whatever reason may be too. Glow sticks, these are great, especially around Halloween. They're very popular, about $1 a piece. They come in increments like 4, 6, and 8 hours. After the 2011 windstorms and I lost power at home, you snap it, significant light. I used that to walk around the house. Then the lights came back on. I stuck it in the freezer. So putting it back in the freezer helps preserve the shelf life. That's where we also recommend you keep your extra batteries, because it helps extend the shelf life of the batteries. Takes away from ice cream space, but batteries, glow sticks, good to keep in the freezer to extend the shelf life. Check the expiration dates, but a good source to have if you don't have flashlights handy. Eyeglasses. So one of the first things that'll break, because typically they're on your nightstand, is your eyeglasses, right? So after the shaking stops, make sure your glasses are fine, put them on if need be, but also for your disaster kits, don't give away your old prescriptions too quickly. Keep those, put them in your kit. I go buy the over-the-counter ones. I have them in my car, in my backpack, in my office. So as a standby, I have them readily available if I forget them, if I break them, but especially after a disaster, first things to go typically are your eyeglasses. Goggles will come in handy, because if we have brush fires along the foothills of our city of Pasadena, you're going to get a lot of ash in the air. Very hard on your eyes. May not be fashion friendly, but wear those goggles to protect your eyes. During the windstorms in 2011, I was walking around wearing them, because you can wear your regular glasses there. All that wind's going to come in on the side, so protect your eyes. Very important, because all it takes is one little particle to get in your eyes, and again, you're not going to be able to get to a doctor, urgent care, hospital quickly. So very important to at least protect your eyes. Personal necessity items. So in your kits, have toothpaste, toothbrush, deodorant, any personal necessity items that you need to sustain for a couple days if you can't get home. If you're at work and you're not going to be able to get home, at least you can keep your personal hygiene going, extra pair of clothes. I always say for women that wear heels at work, make sure you have comfortable shoes, because if you have to walk far, you want to make sure that you have the comfortable sneakers that you can get where you need to be. And hand warmers. We live in sunny Southern California, but you can buy these in packs, very reasonably priced. Make sure you have these, because again, if you don't have heat and it's during a windstorm like we did have in 2011, it was in December, it was cold. People did not have heat for several weeks in many cases. So, blankets, the hand warmers, things that will help keep you warm. And don't forget your pets. Some people value their pets more than their relatives or friends in some cases. So make sure that you have extra food, extra water, supplies for your pets, including crates. So if you need to transport them, you have a way to do that. They are not permitted in shelters unless they're service animals, but we have a great relationship with our local Pasadena Humane Society. So they will establish mobile shelters for pets, so they'll be adjacent to where we have our residents staged. So important not to forget them. Don't be complacent. It's not a matter if, it's a matter of when, as we talked about. Sit down and have this discussion with your family. Talk to your kids' schools and their teachers and find out what their plans are. know how your work responds, who you should call, if you should show up, when you show up, if they have a cache of supplies at your work too. Ask these questions now, because when the big one hits, I keep telling people, when you look in the mirror, that's all you're going to see as far as help goes until we can get resources available. We are prepared for every disaster in Pasadena, with the exception of the big earthquake, where it may take us some time to get to you because roads will be impacted. Our personnel may not be able to get into the city because they are affected where they live and their families need help. So it comes down to neighbor helping neighbor. So have those conversations now. During COVID, everybody stayed inside, isolated, minded their own business. We kind of lost that personal touch of checking on our neighbors, looking out for one another. And then now we have apps that connect neighbors, so people don't feel they need to go out and communicate, have block parties, talk to each other. We need to get back to that pre-COVID where we have neighborhood watch parties. We go out and talk about what can we do to help you after disaster, if your pets are home alone, if your kids come home a couple hours before you are and they're by themselves. Start having those conversations now, that face-to-face, old school, because those apps and those means of communicating without that face-to-face are not going to help after our big disaster. If you want more information, please visit cityofpasadena.net and click on Disaster Preparedness. I encourage you to build a kit, make a plan, and get trained. Thank you.